Chapter 1220. Perhaps Lu Shuaiyu's repeated sneak attacks had infuriated the crowd. Those onlookers followed the topic and became more and more heated. Those discussions made the director's face sunk. He was so infuriated that he slammed the table heavily and berated sternly, "Student Yiqing Luo. What on earth is going on?" The rest of the high profound Class 2 students immediately went forward to help their eliminated class monitor up. There was also a doctor who rushed over to take Lu Shuaiyu's pulse after receiving the director's secret reminder. Yiqing Luo's posture was languid as she yawned and gave a faint smile. What else could it be? Student Lu had already lost her battle ability and I eliminated her. Could it be? I did something wrong. How could student Lu Shuaiyu possibly lose her battle ability? The director's eyes were scarlet red as he was overwhelmed with fear and shock, unable to maintain his composure on the surface. He knew that this Lu Shuaiyu was not the real Lu Shuaiyu. As long as she made her move, she would definitely be able to eliminate Yiqing Luo today. How could the result turn out to be like this? At this moment, not only was there no way to answer to the Lord. This matter had caused various forces to question the Heavenly Academy's ability. Over the years, the Heavenly Academy had always been the best academy, the role model for other academies and the target which they respected and yearned for. Now it was being doubted. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly when she heard that. Her eyes were filled with mockery as she stood in the ring. Her charm was outstanding and her aura was majestic. She smiled and spoke in a calm voice. Why did student Lu lose her battle ability? I'm afraid the director will have to ask student Lu to get the answer. Doctor. The director fiercely glared at Lu Shuaiyu, who was surrounded by the high profound Class 2 students and the doctor, as he gritted his teeth and shouted. That doctor's hand was still on Lu Shuaiyu's pulse. His old face looked flustered and helpless. Hearing the director's stern shout, the doctor's hands and feet trembled as he raised his head and looked at the director. Licking his dry lips with difficulty, the doctor's voice trembled as he bit his head. Director, student Lu suffered some internal injuries due to the impact earlier. Her body is what? Don't hemming and hawing. The director shouted angrily. The doctor took a deep breath. Student Lu's body is fine. In other words, he didn't find anything wrong with Lu Shuaiyu's body. That was to say, Lu Shuaiyu was suddenly unable to move during the battle, or perhaps she was suddenly crushed by Yiqing Luo in minutes. It wasn't that Yiqing Luo was playing tricks in the dark. Could it be? Was the speculation of the onlookers true? Was Lu Shuaiyu intentionally showing weakness and taking the opportunity to restrain Yiqing Luo to achieve her own goal? The dean looked at Lu Shuaiyu suspiciously. He gestured to her that if she had any questions, she should take this opportunity to ask them. Just as he was about to speak, an elegant voice came from the seats of the headquarters. Could it be that the dean has doubts about Lu Shuaiyu's elimination? The dean's scarlet eyes and furious expression flashed past his face. The headmaster quickly turned his head and put on a flattering smile on his face. He laughed dryly and said, Supreme Teacher Mo, I was just curious and asked a few questions. Dmo Xian's red thin lips hooked up, his elegant face revealed a trace of cold intent. Why do I feel that the dean doesn't wish for devil class's student E to win? Chapter 1221. Dmo Xian gave a slight smile and didn't say another word. The director was frightened and didn't dare to say another word. Only his peripheral vision would glance at Lu Shuaiyu from time to time, hoping to find out some information from her. But Lu Shuaiyu was surrounded by a group of students and had no chance to exchange glances with him. Lu Shuaiyu's elimination made those high profound Class 2 students' hearts sink as their expressions changed drastically. Earth profound grade 9's backbone was eliminated by Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo came over to help these devil class students, where would they have any chance to retaliate? High profound Class 2 students swallowed their saliva nervously as they stared vigilantly at this group of lazy to the extreme, like trash devil class students. What kind of trash students were they? These were obviously a group of wolves in sheep's clothing. As for those onlookers, when they saw the high profound Class 2 students' vigilant expressions, as though they were facing a formidable enemy, they started to ridicule them. High profound Class 2 students wanted to cry but had no tears. Saying it so easily, if they had the ability then come up and try. This pack of wolves will bite you until there's nothing left of you, okay? Suddenly, Yi-Ching Luo moved. High profound Class 2 students' calves started to turn soft. They stared anxiously at Yi-Ching Luo, who was standing on the other side of the stage. Drops of cold sweat rolled down from the high profound Class 2 students' foreheads. Their breathing was hurried as their muscles tensed up. Yi-Ching Luo's footsteps were extremely slow as she walked towards the front. That fluttering red dress drew a red glow. That devastatingly beautiful face had an extremely shallow smile, looking elegant and moving. Every step she took. High profound Class 2 students all took a step back. Until Yi-Ching Luo's figure got nearer and nearer. High profound Class 2 students' suspenseful hearts were about to jump out from their hearts. They put on a defensive posture, preparing for a life and death struggle. But unexpectedly, Yi-Ching Luo directly passed them and walked to the side of the stage. Everyone's vision and gazes were concentrated on her. The direction where Yi-Ching Luo was standing was facing. It was Lu Shuaiyu, who was surrounded by the other high profound Class 2 students. Yi-Ching Luo looked down condescendingly at the pale-faced lady who was leaning in the student's arms, as a playful smile bloomed on her lips. Lu Shuaiyu's pupils suddenly widened as she stared venomously at Yi-Ching Luo. His body tensed up, and he was so angry that he was trembling. A few female students beside him whispered, "Vice President." They were extremely worried. Yi-Ching Luo bent down. "Student Lu, congratulations, you're free." Lu Shuaiyu's eyes were hurt by his arrogant demeanor. She trembled as she stared at Yi-Ching Luo in disbelief. He couldn't believe that he would be defeated by a 15-year-old girl. He swore that a little girl was just a matter of moving his fingers. But in the end, instead, she had been humiliated to this extent by a little girl. Yi-Ching Luo actually humiliated her in such a manner. In the face of Lu Shuaiyu's resentful and murderous gaze, Yang Kai felt a chill run down his spine. Yi-Ching Luo was extremely magnanimous. Using poison was indeed shady and sinister. But, so what? If Lu Shuaiyu were to compete with Devil Class fair and square, she would never use such a method to win. What she did was merely giving him a taste of his own medicine. That was all. After today, Lu Shuaiyu's reputation would be completely ruined. Her position as faculty council's vice president was probably not going to be stable anymore. And this person who impersonated Lu Shuaiyu to participate in the competition. Probably for the time being, there was no way to find trouble with her. Chapter 12:22. Returning back to the stage, Yi-Ching Luo smiled at those high profound Class 2 students and said indifferently, "Don't worry, we will go easy on you." Saying that, her gaze glanced at the Devil Class students. The Devil Class students' eyes lit up as they howled and pounced towards the high profound Class 2 students. Yi-Ching Luo didn't join the battle. She stood on the other side of the stage, watching the battle with her arms crossed. The students from the two classes were fighting in a mess. This battle took up an extremely short amount of time. It was just a joss sticks time. High profound Class 2 students were all thrown out of the stage, all eliminated. Yeah. We won. We won. The Devil Class students hugged each other excitedly. They cheered, shouted and were extremely excited. Won. The Devil Class students actually won. And under the circumstance that Yi-Ching Luo didn't participate in the battle, they won. The crowd couldn't regain their senses for a long time. They looked at the stage in shock, those excited young faces on the stage. Not only did the devil class students win, and under the circumstance that no one in the class was eliminated, they won the battle. Looking at the past years of interclass competitions, there was no class who was able to walk to the end without one student being eliminated. Devil class was the first. The only thought in the crowd's mind was, could that private bet still be placed again? Was it too late for them to change their bet to devil class now? Even Yun Duan was stunned for a long time before he regained his senses. On the stage, the winner of the battle was announced, devil class. Following that, the two classes who advanced to the finals began to be announced. Devil class and High Profound class 1 advanced to tomorrow's finals. After the battle between the two classes, the class who won would be the champion of this year's class competition. The reason why Devil class was excited was because of this. They were getting closer and closer to the champion's position. After tomorrow, their boss Qing Luo wouldn't need to worry about the blood oath. Just as Yun Duan finished announcing the rules of tomorrow's competition, suddenly a clear voice rang, "Elder Yun Duan, I represent High Profound Class 1, tomorrow's finals, we admit defeat." Admit defeat. The crowd was shocked. What kind of show was this? High Profound Class 1 actually admitted defeat. This was forcing them to lose all their money in a private bet. Admit defeat. Why did High Profound Class 1 admit defeat? The dean was also stunned as he stood up excitedly. The onlookers pricked up their ears. Now there were only two classes left, High Profound Class 1 and Devil class. Moreover, the finals would involve all the students in the class competing together. There are close to 500 students in High Profound Class 1. The Devil class only had 62 students. Chapter 12:23. What kind of joke was this? How could they not be a match for the Devil class? 400 over people against 62. Still not a match. The students from High Profound Class 1 must have gone mad. The crowd drew in a breath of cold air, unable to comprehend the actions of High Profound Class 1. If they admitted defeat now, it would mean that they had pushed the leader's position to the Devil class. The might of Devil class, no matter what we from High Profound Class 1 say, none of you will believe it. But the students from High Profound Class 2 have experienced it personally, so you should believe what they say. Those students who were called out were still in a daze. They were supported by their own students back to the waiting area of High Profound Class 2. Hearing the question from High Profound Class 1, their expressions changed abruptly, as their lips trembled. Some even revealed a terrified expression, "The whole class is a pack of wolves. We are not their match at all. No, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. There's no suspense in the competition, it's totally looking for abuse, what's there to fight for?" The crowd was even more shocked. If it was said that High Profound Class 1 admitted defeat, they could find excuses. For example, Yi Qing Luo agreed to some conditions from High Profound Class 1, or made a deal, etc. For example, Yi Qing Luo threatened High Profound Class 1, etc. All in all, Devil class's ability was not as good as High Profound Class 1. There was definitely a problem for High Profound Class 1 to admit defeat. But High Profound Class 2 students described it personally. That proved that Devil class's students indeed had a strength that they were unable to discern. One must know, before the competition, High Profound Class 2 students were still in high spirits, looking as though they were entering the finals. But now they were frightened by Devil class, shivering incessantly. Where exactly was the strength of Devil class? Why were thousands of pairs of eyes unable to see what the Devil class's students had done? Could it be Devil class's students were so strong that no one present could see their actions? High Profound Class 1 is very smart. An elegant voice sounded, clear and melodious. Dmo Xian stood up slowly, his white robe fluttering, like a deity. Dong Huanglang and Qi Yijing looked at each other and smiled. We just want to retain the dignity of High Profound Class 1. This wasn't just their opinion, but the entire High Profound Class 1's opinion. Earth Profound 9th grade Lu Shuayu was easily crushed in Yiqing Luo's hands. No matter what method Yiqing Luo used to make Lu Shuayu lose her battle ability. That was Yiqing Luo's methods and ability. There were also 61 Devil Class students who managed to not be eliminated from the class even though they were sandwiched between the 99 High Profound Class 2 students. Instead, they managed to eliminate the other 99 students. It was enough to show that Devil Class students were not as simple as they looked on the surface. Take a look at High Profound Class 2, they have now become the laughingstock of the crowd. They might as well admit defeat. At the very least, they wouldn't have lost so badly in tomorrow's match. In the end, they wouldn't have been told that 500 people couldn't defeat 62 people. Moreover, when the spectators knew the true power of Devil Class, these people would definitely praise them for their intelligence. Cough cough. Cloud cleared his throat. He couldn't believe that things would turn out like this. Based on past years, even if they knew they would lose, those classes would fight until the very last moment and would never admit defeat. After all, no one knew what would happen if it didn't happen. And a miracle could happen at any time. In that case, High Profound Class 1 has decided to admit defeat and stop at the finals. Cloud repeated his question. Dong Huanglang and Qi Yijing turned back and looked at the waiting area of High Profound Class 1. Chapter 12:24. The moment High Profound Class 1 shouted in unison. The crowd's wails rang throughout the entire West Lawn Square. Don't admit defeat. You can still fight. Stop joking, there are close to 500 people in your High Profound Class 1. Devil Class only has 60 over people, why can't we fight? High Profound Class 1, don't be a coward, stand up and continue fighting. If you admit defeat, we'll have to pay a huge loss. One of them mentioned about the private bet. Immediately, those spectators who had bought the betting tickets then remembered that they had spent a huge sum of money to buy the betting tickets. Their intestines were green with regret. One by one, they howled loudly, asking High Profound Class 1 to continue fighting for their betting tickets. Perhaps they could still win and even turn the tables around. As for those pitiful Devil Class, those who had bought Devil Class started cheering excitedly. A total of 3,000 over betting tickets, only 200 over people bought Devil Class. Even if they bought less, they could still earn quite a lot of money. Under the crowd's astonishment, grief and howls, Cloud finally announced, in this round of interclass competition, only one class has entered the finals, Devil Class. Congratulations to Devil Class for entering the finals. When this announcement came out from Cloud's mouth, the entire West Lawn Square fell into a dead silence. After the announcement, even if High Profound Class 1 didn't want to admit defeat, they wouldn't have another chance. From the moment Cloud announced the end. Devil Class. They had become the only class in the finals, which was also the champion of this interclass competition. The final champion was Devil Class. This result was totally out of everyone's expectations. At this moment, the crowd suddenly heard a sharp voice, impossible. Yiqing Luo, you slut. You must have done something in the dark. How could Devil Class possibly win? How could they possibly win? The crowd looked towards the direction of the voice. They saw a disheveled Shengguan Luli, pointing at the stage with a crazed look as she cursed. Behind him, a few tall guards were holding onto Shengguan Liuli and dragging her back. But Shengguan Luli somehow had the strength to break free from the guard's restraint. She raised her voice, cursing in a heart-wrenching voice, "You framed me. You caused me to become like this. You even framed High Profound Class 2 and Class 1. What right do you have to be the champion, your devil class is just a bunch of trash. I refuse to accept this. I can't accept this. Shengguan Liuli had already gone completely crazy. After hearing Yun Duan announce that Yiqing Luo had won the championship, she couldn't handle the news and went crazy. How could Yiqing Luo possibly win the championship? How could the devil class win first place? She didn't believe that all of this was fake. She did not believe it at all. Devil class is the waste class of the Heavenly Academy. The students who are assigned to the devil class are the students with the worst qualifications in all the years that they entered the academy. They were the vermin of the Heavenly Academy. Heavenly Academy's trash. How could he possibly win the final victory in the interclass competition? The current Heavenly Academy's comprehensive strength is so weak. Even a trash class can win first place. Anyway, he had already been expelled from the academy. Shengguan Liuli no longer had a future to speak of. Questioning the academy and insulting the academy were nothing to her anymore. He narrowed his sinister eyes and looked at Shengguan Liuli with a dignified look. Slander me, I don't mind, but this Heavenly Academy is my lifeline. I will never allow anyone to question the Heavenly Academy. The two guards apologized profusely. Then, he carried Shengguan Liuli on his shoulder and hurriedly wanted to leave this place. Wait. A sweet voice that was as crisp as a silver bell rang out leisurely. They saw Yiqing Luo, who was standing on the arena stage, suddenly flew up and directly leapt in front of Shengguan Liuli. That peerless beauty was unparalleled. Dressed in a red dress, she was like a stunning flower that bloomed in the flames. She smiled faintly as she gazed at Shengguan Liuli. It's only been a day and 5th Miss Shengguan has turned into such a state. Looks like after 5th Miss Shengguan failed in the preliminary round, she was completely abandoned by the dark forces. Shengguan Liuli, who was originally carried on the guard's shoulder, stared at her venomously, grinding her teeth. Chapter 12:26. The one who ruined everything, ruined your future, whether it was me or you know it best. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she looked at Shengguan Liuli's crazed face. She knew that this young lady had been completely devoured by the dark forces. Shengguan Liuli had gone crazy. What supported her to live till now was her hatred and resentment towards Yiqing Luo. To what extent could a person's resentment reach? Shengguan Liuli was a living example. Her resentment was so strong that it was enough to support a dying body to appear in front of her. Shengguan Liuli, do you still remember the blood vow we made? Yiqing Luo smiled. Shengguan Liuli's pupils constricted as she screamed sharply. Following that, she struggled even more fiercely. Slut. You despicable, shameless slut. Our blood vow was, if the devil class won first place, you will destroy your profound jade heart and break all the veins in your limbs. Do you still remember? Yiqing Luo wasn't affected by Shengguan Liuli's craziness as she continued talking. Her slender fingers covered her mouth as she yawned. I thought I could let you live for another day, but I didn't expect that today. The smart class, high profound class 1, has chosen to admit defeat. Then, this also means that I am the champion of this year's interclass competition. After a pause, she continued, it also means that I have won our bet. Yiqing Luo's words were not to belittle the high profound class 1. She specially used the words smart class, which Dmo Xian mentioned, and used it on the high profound class 1. With Dmo Xian's current status, he could even say a few words in the headquarters. His recognition of high profound class 1 meant that he was indeed praising high profound class 1. Shengguan Liuli clenched her fists tightly as she had no words to refute. They made a blood vow. No one dared to go back on their words, and no one could violate the bet. Because no one could escape the curse of the blood vow. The craziness on Shengguan Liuli's face was gradually replaced by fear. She wasn't willing to fulfill the bet as she didn't want to lose her profound jade heart. She who was expelled from the academy had completely become a target of bullying in the Shangwan family. She was able to live until now, completely relying on the profound jade heart, relying on the profound rank to survive. If he lost his profound heart jade, his meridians would be crippled and he would become a cripple. The Shangwan family would definitely abandon her. She would become an abandoned cripple. Shangwan Liuli's body began to tremble in fear. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, the corners of her long and narrow eyes were filled with a chilly killing intent. Even if Shangwan Liuli was about to die, she did not intend to let her off so easily. She wanted Shangwan Liuli to experience endless pain while she was still alive, to lose all her faith. This was the consequence of Shangwan Liuli cooperating with the dark forces. This was the result of Shangwan Liuli using the mysterious Yin Qi to attack her brothers again and again. Her brother was her reverse scale. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and shot a cold glance at that guard. The guard felt his hair stand on end, and a chill ran down his spine. Yiqing Luo's gaze towards him was filled with an eerie deathly aura. Subconsciously, he threw Shangwan Liuli onto the ground, not daring to go against Yiqing Luo. Earlier, the guard had seen with his own eyes how Shangwan Liuli crushed the earth-profound 9th grade Lu Shuiyu without any pressure. In order to save his life, how could the guard care about this 5th miss who had already become a cripple? What's more, the matter of 5th miss and Yiqing Luo's bet was already known by everyone. That arrogant and complacent girl. Unexpectedly, she was actually a student of the class of gods, and the overseer of this year's interclass competition. Yiqing Luo raised her brows in interest. Classmate Yi, Shangwan Liuli colluded with the dark forces and tried to use the dark forces' power to win. She was wrong, but you are so cruel and merciless. You should not have made such a vicious bet with her. Zi Qianqian's words were filled with righteous indignation. Her voice was still gentle and beautiful, but with an unquestionable charm. The crowd clapped and cheered. This was the #1 beauty in the Heavenly Academy. Not only was she beautiful, her ability was outstanding, and she had such a proper view of the world. Chapter 12:28. Those onlookers who were fanning the flames and waiting to watch a good show. As though they were brainwashed, they started to follow Zi Qianqian's words and accused Yiqing Luo of being vicious. When Yiqing Luo heard that, she was so angry that she laughed. She squinted her eyes mischievously and her eerie voice was transmitted into their ears. So, Student Zi is begging me to let go of 5th Miss Shangwan. Beg? This word made Zi Qianqian's expression congeal. That pair of determined beautiful eyes flashed past a trace of sharpness. Not waiting for Zi Qianqian to speak, Yiqing Luo laughed sinisterly. But, if Devil Class doesn't get first place in this competition, will 5th Miss Shangwan let me off? Zi Qianqian felt a chill down her spine. That laughter, that voice, was obviously pleasing to the ears. But she felt that it sounded like a voice from hell. She tried her best to calm herself down, took a deep breath and continued speaking gently. Of course, 5th Miss Shangwan. Of course she won't let me off. Yiqing Luo directly interrupted Zi Qianqian's words, not giving her any face at all. In order to win me, she didn't hesitate to cooperate with the dark forces and borrow their power. Does this look like she will let it go? Zi Qianqian's face flushed red and a trace of anger surfaced on her beautiful face. She had no words to refute Yiqing Luo's words. If Devil Class was to be eliminated in today's competition, Shangwan Liuli would absolutely not let Yiqing Luo off. But she had already spoken up for Shangwan Liuli and gained the crowd's compliments. If she were to give up now, not only would it seem that she was afraid of Yiqing Luo, she would also be ridiculed by others. No matter what, she would protect Shangwan Liuli today. Thinking of this, Zi Qianqian's beautiful eyes lifted up slightly as she stared at Yiqing Luo, refusing to give in. This is just your imagination. 5th Miss Shangwan has always been kind-hearted, even if she accepted the dark forces' cooperation, it was because of your bet. Now you've already won the interclass competition and caused 5th Miss Shangwan to leave the academy, isn't that enough? The more she said, the more indignant Zi Qianqian was. Must you force her to the end before you are willing to let it go? Pfft! An uncontrollable laughter broke the solemn atmosphere that had been created with great difficulty. Yiqing Luo burst out laughing, unable to straighten her back. Her beautiful face was smiling like a flower, and her pair of curved eyes looked even more enchanting. This smile seemed to cause everything in the surroundings to lose their splendor. Yiqing Luo was even more holy and pure, peerlessly beautiful. Even Zi Qianqian, who was filled with righteous indignation at the side, could not help but feel inferior. You! What are you laughing at? Zi Qianqian's beautiful eyes were piercingly cold. I laughed at your stupidity. Yiqing Luo didn't give him any face as she smiled charmingly. Do you think I alone can decide on the bet? Many of you should have witnessed the bet that day. Did I force Shangwan Liuli to agree to the bet? Zi Qianqian was speechless. She wasn't too clear about the bet. Furthermore, what does our bet have to do with you? There's no need to spread your pure Virgin Mary aura everywhere. If you really have good intentions, why not accept the consequences of the bet on her behalf? Yiqing Luo snorted lightly. Her laughter was filled with ridicule and ridicule. Zi Qianqian's pupils contracted slightly, her brows were overflowing with embarrassment. She clenched her fists tightly in the dark. This Yiqing Luo had embarrassed her time and time again. Chapter 1229. Moreover. Yiqing Luo dragged out the last syllable as she squinted her eyes at Zi Qianqian with a faint smile. Shangwan Luli deserved to be expelled from the academy. Because of greed, she sold her soul. What has it got to do with me? Don't push the blame to me, I don't have the habit of taking the blame. But Student Z is such a pure saint, you must like to take the blame for others, right? She chuckled and raised her eyebrows at Zi Qianqian. Compared to listening to your nonsense, I prefer to take action directly. My pure and kind Holy Mother Zi, are you going to accept the bet for Shangwan Liuli? Although Zi Qianqian didn't quite understand Yiqing Luo's words, but she understood the words pure and kind white lotus. It was obviously a beautiful compliment. But Zi Qianqian was very clear that Yiqing Luo was absolutely not complimenting her. Her face darkened, and a bitter resentment flashed across her eyes. Student Yi, what enmity do you have with Shangwan 5th Miss? Why did he have to kill the Shangwan 5th Miss? Did the Yi family teach you to conduct yourself in this way? Zi Qianqian had no way out now. She simply mentioned the Yi family in an attempt to make Yiqing Luo let Shangwan Luli off for the family's reputation. What responded to Zi Qianqian was a painful scream. Fresh blood splattered out. Zi Qianqian was stunned on the spot and couldn't react in time. Drops of blood splattered on her snow-white dress. Shangwan Luli was in so much pain that her delicate body twisted as she laid on the ground twitching powerlessly. There was a fist-sized hole on her chest as blood kept gushing out. Everyone's vision was fixed on Yiqing Luo. No, more accurately. They were staring at Yiqing Luo's hand. Not a single drop of blood could be seen on her fair hands. She was holding a piece of blood jade-like thing. The blood couldn't hide the orange glow of that jade-like thing. Orange-grade profound jade heart. This was Shangwan Luli's profound jade heart. Yiqing Luo actually dug out Shangwan Luli's profound jade heart with her bare hands. This scene was so bloody that it made many girls vomit directly. The entire West Billows Square was silent except for the sounds of people sucking in cold breaths and vomiting. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a sly smile, the expression on her face was indifferent. Not the slightest bit, it was the expression of a 15-year-old girl. It was as if she was already used to such bloody things. You. Zi Qianqian was frightened by the look in her eyes. What kind of eyes were they? Like a sharp blade, it ruthlessly stabbed into her heart. It was a kind of suffocating pain. Zi Qianqian couldn't believe that Yiqing Luo had completely disregarded her face and dug out Shangguan Liuli's profound jade heart. Without the slightest hesitation. Yiqing Luo didn't put her in her eyes at all. Chapter 1230. Usually, Zi Qianqian had a noble and elegant look. Everyone was afraid of her status as a student of the class of gods and envied her reputation as the #1 beauty. She had never had any disputes with anyone. Choked by Yiqing Luo's few sentences, she was stunned and couldn't refute a single word. Zi Qianqian tried her best to restrain her anger. She couldn't lose her demeanor as the #1 beauty in front of thousands of people. And she absolutely couldn't let anyone get hold of her weakness to insult her. Yiqing Luo's action was obviously a slap to her face. She had always protected Shangguan Liuli. Yiqing Luo didn't say a word and directly dug out the profound heart jade in front of her. This was provoking Zi Qianqian. And also slapping Zi Qianqian's face. She took a deep breath and tried her best to maintain her calm voice. Yiqing Luo, you are simply too vicious. Towards her accusation, Yiqing Luo didn't get angry but instead smiled. Immediately she raised the profound heart jade in her palm and spread it out in front of Zi Qianqian. Her 5 fingers suddenly clenched tightly. A burst of profound qi directly exploded in her palm. Boom, an explosion sounded. That orange-grade profound heart jade directly exploded into pieces in Yiqing Luo's hands. Damn! She actually destroyed an orange-grade profound heart jade. Student Yi, you can leave it for me if you don't want it. I want it all. You are too willing. Although Shangguan Liuli's Earth Profound 6th grade profound grade borrowed the power of the dark forces, but she herself should also be a profound mystic realm cultivator. You can completely absorb her profound qi to consolidate yourself. When the crowd saw such a luxurious scene, they all beat their chests and stamped their feet as they cried out. The profound heart jade could be refined by other cultivators. Although the refining method was more complicated and more difficult. But, even if she didn't refine it herself, she could sell it to others to refine. After all, it was a profound mystic realm cultivator's profound heart jade. Destroyed just like that, what a pity. Heartache. The first bet, cripple the profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo smiled, then, next. The second, cripple the tendons of the hands and feet. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and stared at Shangguan Liuli who was lying on the ground, unable to move due to excessive blood loss. 5th Miss Shangguan, don't worry, I will act very quickly. I will absolutely not let you feel any pain. Shangguan Liuli trembled in fear. A sharp pain came from the wound on his chest. Her eyes widened as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. But Yiqing Luo had no intention to look at her in the eye. Yiqing Luo opened her fingers and the glower flame fan appeared in her hands. She shook it, and a red electric current coiled around the glowing flame fan. She aimed the glowing flame fan at Shangguan Liuli's arm, and the electric current shot up like a red sharp knife, cutting Shangguan Liuli's arm. Bang! A stream of profound energy suddenly repelled the red light. Zi Qianqian waved his sleeve and conjured a mystical energy barrier in front of Shangguan Liuli. Her gaze was vicious as she stared at Yiqing Luo, student Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo dared to ignore her. In the Ling King's tomb, Yiqing Luo had tried time and time again to sow discord between her and the Death God mercenary group. And time again to embarrass her. And time again to snatch her limelight. Now, she even embarrassed her in public. Chapter 1231. Zi Qianqian's words made Yiqing Luo's movements halted. Devil class was the champion class. Devil class could choose whether to challenge the overseer or not. After challenging the overseer, they could enter the class of gods to undergo special training. Although she had no interest in the class of gods. But the other students in devil class were still yearning for the class of gods. If they could enter the class of gods to undergo special training, it would be a huge upgrade for those students. After some time, Yiqing Luo kept her glower flame fan. I forgot that there's still you, the overseer. Zi Qianqian's face turned black. Then let's temporarily leave Shangguan Liuli's meridians for another day. Yiqing Luo lazily stretched her waist and directly returned to the stage without even turning her head back. Totally disregarding Zi Qianqian. After she returned to the stage, she looked at Yun Duan and gave a polite smile. Tomorrow, devil class will challenge the overseer. Yun Duan's gaze towards Yiqing Luo was filled with curiosity. No one could imagine it. Such a young lady, how did she manage to face such a bloody scene without any expression? So direct and efficient, digging out Shangguan Liuli's profound heart jade and directly destroying it. Even if it was them, they would not be able to do it so directly. Are devil class sure to challenge the overseer? Once the challenge is confirmed, it cannot be changed. Yun Duan solemnly reminded, if tomorrow's competition is lost, the class of gods will become the new champion class, while devil class can only be considered as stopping at the finals. This meant Yiqing Luo and Shangguan Liuli's bet. Considered as Yiqing Luo's loss. If they wanted to retain the title of champion class, the best way was to refuse to challenge the overseer. The crowd and the students all perked up as they looked at Yiqing Luo nervously. But, as the main character who was the focus of attention, devil class's students were not nervous at all. They were incomparably calm as they whispered to each other, discussing who would go to the class of gods to receive special training. Listening to the devil class's unbridled discussion, high profound class 2 students almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The crowd's lips twitched. Where did their confidence come from? How could they be so sure that they could win Zi Qianqian? They really couldn't blame the devil class's students for being so calm. It was not their first time meeting Zi Qianqian. The performance of the god-slaying mercenary group in the tomb of the Ling King had amazed them. Their boss Qing Luo's ability was definitely stronger than Zi Qianqian's. Yes. Under everyone's anxious and curious gazes, Yiqing Luo replied word by word without hesitation. Then. Tomorrow, the class will challenge the leader, student Zi Qianqian. Yun Duan announced. Soon after, he said some concluding words. It was already late, so they dispersed. As the crowd dispersed, the onlookers were still discussing what had just happened. Today's competition was really unexpected. Devil class defeated High Profound Class 2. High Profound Class 1 took the initiative to admit defeat. There was also the matter of Shangguan Liuli's profound heart jade being destroyed. It had already become a topic that everyone was talking about enthusiastically. When the devil class students were about to leave the scene, they were still surrounded by the other classes or the crowd. They all wanted to ask the devil class, how exactly did they win this competition? There were also many people from various forces who wanted to rope in this group of young students. But when the students of devil class heard some comments, their faces turned ugly. Chapter 1232. The few students beside her nodded their heads in agreement. Digging out Shangguan Liuli's profound heart jade in front of so many people. Boss, your reputation. A devil class student howled. Under Zi Qianqian's intentional embellishment, Yiqing Luo had already become a vicious and merciless, overbearing and vicious woman. Now, Yiqing Luo dug out Shangguan Liuli's profound heart jade in front of everyone and directly blasted it into dregs. This totally proved Zi Qianqian's words. Probably, in the eyes of the surrounding crowd, Yiqing Luo had completely become a great demoness who killed without batting an eyelid. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose as she disapprovingly shot a glance at the group of youngsters behind her. I did it on purpose. Ha. Ha. The students' footsteps halted as they looked at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. They were unable to understand the meaning in her words. Yiqing Luo also stopped in her tracks as she turned around and looked at this bunch of young students as she laughed lightly, gentle and virtuous. Number 1 beauty, number 1 genius and such reputation, I have no interest in it and it's not suitable for me. What I need is a position which no one dares to easily shake. So what if you're a great demoness? Now, those people, who dares to talk about devil class just because of a disagreement? Demoness, that was a title which made people afraid. Why couldn't she be a demoness? Yiqing Luo didn't want devil class to become like the class of gods, to be praised by everyone and be high up. The young lads and young ladies had not completely matured yet. Once they had a taste of that which made others envious, it would easily lead to a change in their mentality, to enjoy this taste, to be greedy for this taste. Rather than this, why not let devil class become a class which everyone feared? Because of fear, those people would also think of ways to destroy these students at the same time of fear. And if devil class's students didn't want to be destroyed by others, then they must work hard to make themselves stronger, to make themselves even more fearful. King Ling's tomb. She didn't bother to conceal. Exposing Blue Dragon, Chi-Chi, and God Relic in front of everyone. And making use of 3,000 peach blossoms to spread this matter. It was to lay down the foundation for the World Mercenary Group. It was to let everyone know that the World Group's ability was not something which they could imagine. But today, she dug out Shangguan Lu Li's profound heart jade in front of everyone. It was also to prove in front of everyone that she, Yiqing Luo, would do what she said. If she wanted to go against the devil class, her methods were not limited to these. If you're not convinced, give it a try. How would the onlookers dare to try? Who didn't know that Yiqing Luo had various divine dragon sacred beast god relic on her? Hence, everyone felt a sense of shock towards the devil class. Those voices that were nagging about how the devil class was a useless class, gradually disappeared. This was the effect that Yiqing Luo wanted. Qing Luo's decision naturally has her reasons. Everyone go back to the dormitory and have a good rest, there's a tough battle tomorrow. Qiao Jin's peripheral vision saw a white figure walking over and he immediately waved his hand, separating the students from Yiqing Luo. Saying that, he pushed Yiqing Luo towards a certain direction. Tomorrow's match, Before Yiqing Luo could finish her words, because of that push from Qiao Jin, she lost her balance and her body suddenly fell backwards. Yiqing Luo exerted a little strength on her waist and was just about to flip over and get up. An arm wrapped around her waist. An electric current-like numbness instantly made Yiqing Luo lose all her energy. Chapter 1233. It's only been a day and Lil Luo already misses me so much. A low, husky, magnetic voice, with a hint of ridicule, rang softly in her ears. A rich familiar sandalwood scent enveloped her entirely. In that voice, Yiqing Luo's petite body was like a puddle of water, leaning softly in his arms. Since the beauty has taken the initiative to throw herself into my arms, how can this lord reject? His words had just ended when Yiqing Luo's legs left the ground. Her entire body was brought into his warm embrace. Yiqing Luo was so shocked that she immediately stretched out her hand and circled around his neck. You. What are you doing? He was wearing revered Mo's face. In public, to do such an action would attract criticism. Dmo Xian's thin lips curled up slightly as his chest heaved up and down. A low laughter came from his throat, which was filled with charm. Yiqing Luo struggled a little as she turned her head to look at the surroundings. But she discovered that the devil class's students had very tacitly surrounded them in layers. As far as she could see, it was filled with students dressed in red class uniforms. Her suspended heart finally calmed down. So afraid of being discovered. Dmo Xian lowered his head. Warm thin lips were pressed against her earlobe. A scorching hot breath sprayed onto her skin. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled as she hurriedly turned her head, trying to struggle. But her head was held in place by Dmo Xian's large palm. His lips were still touching her ear. Lil Luo, is so excited, don't tell me. Lil Luo, like such an exciting method of secret love. Yiqing Luo flew into a rage out of humiliation as her cheeks flushed red. She raised her fist and punched fiercely towards Dmo Xian's chest as she clenched her teeth and spat, "You're talking rubbish. Who likes secret love, who likes excitement? Let me down." Not letting go. Dmo Xian shamelessly tightened his grip as his deep eyes contained a smile which seemed to be able to melt an iceberg, unless you struggle free yourself. Yiqing Luo directly chose to give up resisting. What a joke. Her strength was not comparable to Dmo Xian, all right. Furthermore, whatever she wanted to do, Dmo Xian would know what she was going to do next. Trying to struggle free from his embrace. Hee. This was impossible even in a dream. Nestled in Dmo Xian's arms, under the escort of a group of students, the group left West Lawn Square and went straight back to the dormitory. The controversial person left. The next person to be debated was naturally the main character of the farce just now. For example, Zi Qianqian. For example, Shengguan Liuli had her profound heart jade dug out, and because she had lost too much blood, her entire face was deathly pale, and she looked extremely like a malicious spirit. She lay on the ground, her heart filled with resentment. But Shengguan Liuli was clear. Their defeat in the interclass competition, she no longer had the chance to take revenge. Because Yiqing Luo had exposed her collaboration with the dark forces in public, the Shengguan family deliberately led the crowd to suspect that the Shengguan family had also joined the dark forces. As a result, the current Shengguan family had already been forcibly removed from the four great families. He didn't have the honor of being one of the four great families. They, the Shengguan clan, were nothing. The enemies who had once humiliated and oppressed him were now all knocking on his door. Her father had long been fed up with her. If it wasn't for the fact that she still had some value. Perhaps, her father had already killed her to vent his anger. Shengguan Liuli painfully shut her eyes as she kept hating Yiqing Luo in her heart. Chapter 1234. Zi Qianqian stared at the direction where Yiqing Luo had left, deep in thought. Suddenly hearing guard Shengguan's words, she regained her senses and glanced at him indifferently. "No need to thank me." Saying that, she hid the deep meaning in her eyes and turned around to leave. She frowned slightly as her beautiful eyes congealed. What she saw earlier. Was it an illusion? Master Mo actually hugged Yiqing Luo in his arms. And in that kind of intimate and ambiguous position, hugging Yiqing Luo. Wasn't it said that Yiqing Luo was the lady whom the overlord had taken a fancy to? Why was Yiqing Luo so intimate with Master Mo? That kind of hugging posture, it was definitely not just a relationship between a master and his student. Suddenly, Zi Qianqian recalled yesterday, when she got someone to inquire about Yiqing Luo's news, what that person told her. Master Mo had directly chosen to teach devil class the moment he came back from the main courtyard. Apparently, he specially went to look for Yiqing Luo. There was definitely something between Master Mo and Yiqing Luo. Night. In a small mountain village not far from the West Square. The surroundings were desolate, without any signs of human presence. The air was filled with the stench of fresh blood. In one of the thatched huts, the candlelight elongated the two entangled figures in the room. Indistinctly there was an ambiguous panting sound that made one blush. The night was as cold as water. A slender figure stepped on the moonlight as she sped over. Just as she neared the thatched hut, her footsteps suddenly halted. The sound in the hut was extremely loud, as the wooden planks were rattling. The ambiguous voice pierced her cold and elegant face, making it seem even paler. Cough. The lady's face was pale, suppressing the anger in her chest as she coughed. The sound in the hut paused, and became even more intense. Totally not restrained because of the lady's arrival. Ah, ah. Ah, Xiang. Holy technique. Outside. The fragmented voice was filled with a man's coquettish charm. But because of the ferocious treatment, there was no way to complete a sentence. The candlelight swayed, the wooden planks in the silent night were exceptionally loud. The lady outside could not bear it any longer, as she lifted her leg and directly kicked open that tottering door. The lady clutched her chest as she staggered into the hut. The two entangled in the hut, as though they were not affected by her, as they continued to tangle. Then, he saw that the woman's face was pale and she looked like she was heavily injured. Only then did the two of them react. Xiang Xingfa tore off his clothes and casually covered the man under him. Then, he stood up and walked towards the woman. "What's wrong with you? Why do you look so pathetic?" The woman pushed away Xiang Xingfa's hand in disgust and stumbled against the wooden table. He seemed to have stepped on something. She looked down and saw a corpse that had been cut in half. Judging from his attire, he was obviously the owner of this thatched cottage. She frowned and kicked the half of the corpse away. "You guys can even afford to play in this kind of place. Your taste is really heavy." Xiang Xingfa looked back at Si Yanmu, who was dressed neatly, and laughed out loud. "As long as Mu is here, I can be interested in any place." Si Yanmu draped the long robe embroidered with an elephant pattern on Xiang Xingfa's body. When he heard this, his gentle jade-like face immediately turned red. "Xiang, you are teasing me again." Xiang Xingfa's eyes darkened, as if he wanted to hold Si Yanmu in his arms again and have a good time with him. "Both of you, enough is enough." The woman impatiently patted the table. This slap caused her chest to ache incessantly. Chapter 1235. What? Elephant Xingfa's expression darkened. He glared at the woman in front of him and said, "Didn't you say that there would be no problem if you were to go?" That lady's face was pale, a pair of ruthless eyes shot out intense hatred. "This saint has belittled Yi Qing Luo, that little slut, allowing her to take advantage of the loophole." Lord Saint technique. Devil class obtained the leader position. Si Yanmu's expression changed slightly as he asked anxiously. The woman acted as if someone had touched her bad luck. She grabbed the things on the table and threw them at Si Yanmu's face. "Why didn't you tell me earlier about that little slut's ability to poison?" Si Yanmu did not dare to dodge. A big palm blocked in front of Si Yanmu. Xiang Xingfa caught the thing that was thrown over and said calmly, "That's enough, die. You can be angry, but, if you hurt Mumu's face, don't blame me for falling out with you." The woman was so angry that she snorted and turned her head away. Si Yanmu clenched the clothes of the elephant holy technique and looked at the woman lying in the haystack not far away. "If the task fails, then, what will happen to Lu Shuiyu?" "What? Do you feel sorry for her?" The woman turned her head and sneered. Her line of sight followed Si Yanmu's line of sight and looked at the woman in the haystack. Their faces were exactly the same. Even if one looked closely, it was impossible to tell which one was the real Lu Shuiyu. He was right. The woman conversing with the sacred art of elephant was one of the 4 sacred arts that had disguised herself as Lu Shuiyu to participate in the interclass competition, the sacred art of butterfly. How could that be? Si Yanmu anxiously looked at Xiang Xingfa, for fear that he would misunderstand. "I hate her more than enough, how could I feel sorry for her, but Lu Shuiyu is still of use to us. Ha, there won't be any left soon. The sacred butterfly technique sneered and looked away. You guys better think about how you're going to explain this to the Lord. At the mention of their Lord, their expressions suddenly became extremely solemn. Recently, the Imperial Palace had been harassing the Dark Coalition with the excuse of being attacked by the Dark Coalition. Moreover, because of Yi Qing Luo, the number of cultivators' souls which he had absorbed recently was getting lesser and lesser. At this moment, if they brought the news of their failed mission back to the Dark Forces, would the Lord directly tear their hands into pieces? Since when have I ever suffered such humiliation? Yi Qing Luo, that little slut. I will play her to death sooner or later. Saint Butterfly clenched her teeth and covered her chest. That's right, that little bitch knows how to poison people, and she's pretty good at it. If you guys have any other plans, you'd better be prepared. In the dormitory, the students who were smiling ambiguously were chased back to their rooms. Yi Qing Luo took a look at the man behind her. Aren't you going to settle the Imperial Palace's matters? Why did he make it look like Supreme Mo? Where's Feng? I missed you. Dmo Xian wrapped his arms around her waist from behind and rubbed against her delicate shoulders. Ah, Feng is hiding in the dark. If you want to order him around, you can call him any time. Yi Qing Luo was tickled by his actions as she giggled. Dmo Xian's slender fingers brushed past the strands of hair on her forehead. You don't have to worry about the Imperial Palace, just concentrate on the competition. Yi Qing Luo knitted her brows. She knew that based on her current ability, even if something happened to the Imperial Palace, she wouldn't be of any help at all. But this feeling of being isolated was something she didn't like at all. Just as she was about to open her mouth, Dmo Xian's finger pressed against her pink lips. Chapter 1236. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips lightly. A pair of enchanting eyes fixed on Dmo Xian. He didn't want her to get involved in the matters of the Imperial Palace, so he deliberately changed the topic. Could it be, was she really that weak in his eyes? As if he had seen through Yi Qing Luo's thoughts, Dmo Xian withdrew his hand and heaved a long sigh. In the next instant, his long arms exerted strength and pulled her into his embrace. Lil Luo, what nonsense are you thinking about? Dmo Xian's large palm covered the back of Yi Qing Luo's head, as he hugged her tightly in his arms. Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she slowly raised her eyes. Even though she had seen that peerless face countless times, it still made her heart palpitate. From this angle, she could clearly see the helplessness hidden in Dmo Xian's eyes. When those deep peach blossom eyes looked at her, it was as if they carried all the gentleness and love in the world. I didn't want to tell you just to make you feel at ease. Dmo Xian's slender fingers brushed past her brows. The Imperial Palace's harassment towards the Dark Forces had a certain effect. Not only did it create pressure for the Dark Forces, you should be able to have some peace these few days. Yi Qing Luo blinked her eyes as she immediately digested Dmo Xian's words. As it turned out, Dmo Xian would take the opportunity of the Wolf Saint technique's attack to completely control the public opinion. Then, he openly sent out the Imperial Palace's disciples to fight and harass the Dark Forces several times. He said that he wanted to destroy the Wolf Saint's forces. However, he had never used his true strength. He had only used simple harassment. Was it all for her? Yi Qing Luo's arms hugged his waist tightly as her brows rose up. All right, it's my fault for letting my imagination run wild, but you can't hide everything from me. Then, little Luo, you can't hide it from me. Her lower jaw was abruptly lifted by Dmo Xian's slender fingers. In Yi Qing Luo's pupils, that face which made her heart fluttered was magnified infinitely. A warm and domineering kiss landed on her lips. That force was extremely ferocious, and in just a moment, it had completely swallowed Yi Qing Luo. The kiss became increasingly sorrowful and ambiguous. It was as though he wanted to merge Yiqing Luo into his blood and bones. Yiqing Luo's face was flushed red, her petite body had no strength at all. She wanted to struggle and breathe, but the man's grip on her tightened. Little Luo, Dmo Xian's hoarse voice softly called out her name. Dmo Xian's large palm was tightly wrapped around her waist belt. His body was burning hot and taut. A single kiss was enough to make him unable to restrain himself. He wanted Lil Luo, when he had actually become so desperate for Lil Luo, Di Zun expressed that the man was so hungry that he was only thinking about how to make love to his little Luo heir. Ah Xian. No, you can't. Yiqing Luo blushed, deeply feeling the changes in the man's body. She blushed, her hands clutching the front of his shirt tightly. Lil Luo, do you really have the heart to pay for the rest of your life's fortune? Dmo Xian suppressed his voice, as it was filled with a thick desire. He held the little woman's hand and reached out. Are you sure I can stop now? Yiqing Luo was so shocked that she hurriedly slapped Dmo Xian's hand away, as her face turned even redder. Pervert. Dmo Xian's half-squinted peach blossom eyes, as rippling lights shone down resplendent luster. He bent over and kissed her earlobe, as his hoarse voice became even more sexy. I'm only perverted towards you. Chapter 1237. Ah! Yiqing Luo cried out in shock as her body was placed on the soft bed. A head of fine black hair scattered over the head of the bed, like a blooming flower, gorgeous beyond compare. Her little face blushed red as her little hand propped against his chest. Ah Xian. Stop first, listen to me. MMH. His lips came down on hers, fiercely kissing her lips, stopping her from rejecting him. Yiqing Luo struggled even more, her pair of charming eyes were stained with a layer of mist because of his kiss. Her charming eyes were like silk, exceptionally enchanting. Dmo Xian's thick palm, with a thin layer of callus, caressed Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Luo panted even more violently. He half-propped himself up, as he gazed at the crimson cheeks, seductive young lady below him. An indescribable feeling surged from his lower abdomen. The fire in his eyes, with a whoosh, burned extremely vigorously. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo saw him finally stopping, as she immediately called out Dmo Xian's name. Because of the suffocating kiss, she was panting heavily. This coquettish call was accompanied by light panting, as though it was a seductive moan. When Yiqing Luo's gaze faced towards Dmo Xian, attempting to make him calm down, her entire person was instantly stunned. Her petite body also froze. His gaze, scorching and boiling hot. It was like a burning fire, staring at her with a scorching gaze, as though he wanted to swallow her into his abdomen. Under this fiery gaze, Yiqing Luo only felt that her body seemed to be on fire. Lil Luo trying to escape. Sensing the stiff young lady in his arms, Dmo Xian bent down, as he laughed softly beside her ear. What responded to him was increasingly heavy and urgent panting. Dmo Xian's smile became even more unbridled. In future, dare to let your imagination run wild. Yiqing Luo shook her head like a rattle drum. Her charming eyes stared straight at Dmo Xian, as a sliver of tears, as her long curly eyelashes fluttered. As though she was telling Dmo Xian, look at me, I'm the most sincere, I will definitely not let my imagination run wild. That adorable look made Dmo Xian's pupils contracted continuously. The fire was burning more and more violently. Since you know you're in the wrong, don't reject me. Dmo Xian locked her hands behind her back and used one hand to undo Yiqing Luo's clothes. Using his magnetic and hoarse voice, he continued, Lil Luo, when I see you, I want to kiss you, I want to hold you in my arms, I want to do what I'm doing to you now. You. Yi Qing Luo was so embarrassed that she didn't know what to say to refute. She had always known that men thought with their lower bodies. But he didn't know that even Dmo Xian was the same. She still had a competition tomorrow. Now. Let Dmo Xian eat everything clean. Yi Qing Luo expressed that based on Dmo Xian's current, hungry look, she would absolutely not have the strength to stand up tomorrow. Furthermore, what's more, right now, Yi Qing Luo's eyes were moist as she wriggled her body, trying to break free from his hand to stop Dmo Xian. Xian, I really know I'm in the wrong, I promise I won't let my imagination run wild, don't. The man's hand had already ripped off her clothes. A scorching hot breath sprayed on her body. After that, his fingers unbuttoned Yi Qing Luo's skirt. Just as he was about to probe in, suddenly, his expression congealed. Following that, his body stiffened. He was completely stunned. That taut body, muscles tight and firm, as his gaze turned even more profound. That. Yi Qing Luo coughed lightly. Looking at the man's sunken face, she inexplicably felt that it was rather funny. Chapter 1238. Dmo Xian's face sunk as he clenched his teeth and straightened Yi Qing Luo's messy clothes. He flipped over and sat on the bed. That warm warmth suddenly dissipated as Yi Qing Luo blushed as she sat up and fastened her clothes properly. Her peripheral vision glanced towards Dmo Xian's direction from time to time. Both of them didn't say a word to break the awkward silence. It was until Yi Qing Luo had completely put on her clothes and tied them up, that little body nudged towards Dmo Xian's side, that Yi Qing Luo obviously felt. The minute she moved, Dmo Xian's body instantly tensed up. His yearning had not completely disappeared. The corners of Yi Qing Luo's eyes suddenly curved into a long and narrow arc, as her eyes sparkled with a crafty luster. Ah Xian. Her voice turned tender as Yi Qing Luo's petite body directly covered Dmo Xian's back as her two little hands hugged his waist tightly. At such a close distance, she indeed felt the man's body tensed up and stiff. Vaguely, she could still hear Dmo Xian's heavy panting. Lil Luo, Dmo Xian swallowed his saliva as he suppressed the fire that was stirred up by this little lady. He raised his voice and his voice was extremely tensed. However, Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to hear the suppressed feelings in his words as she rubbed her petite body against his back. I've already reminded you but you didn't listen and now you're still fierce to me. After saying this sentence, Yi Qing Luo herself started to have goosebumps. But, in order to see Dmo Xian losing control, she endured it. Her words had just ended when Yi Qing Luo's body felt light as she fell onto the bed. The man's boiling hot chest pressed down on her. Dmo Xian's fingers clasped her lower jaw as he stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo with his bloodshot eyes. Lil Luo, do you really think I don't dare to touch you? At this moment, Yi Qing Luo wasn't flustered like before. Instead she giggled happily as her arms automatically wrapped around his neck as she whispered into his ear, "Amen, I'm just relying on the fact that you don't dare to touch me." Her curved eyes were filled with a crafty smile. Dmo Xian's arm, which was propped up by her side, clenched tightly into a fist. That peerless face was drenched in cold sweat. His taut expression was extremely terrifying. Staring at Yi Qing Luo's smiling eyes, Dmo Xian took a deep breath as he flipped over from Yi Qing Luo's body with a gloomy face. Yes. He could not touch her. It wasn't that he didn't dare to, but that he couldn't bear to. Looking at Dmo Xian's suppressed expression, Yi Qing Luo was in a good mood. Actually, if her body was able to sleep with Dmo Xian, and since she didn't have to compete tomorrow, she might have given in after her reluctance earlier. But, it could only be said that Dmo Xian's timing and date were not right. Who knew that today was coincidentally the day her kuei water arrived? Cough, that's right, it was the legendary great-aunt visiting. In ancient times, there were no sanitary napkins like in modern times. Yiqing Luo had always used soft silk cloth to make menstrual pads. Previously, when she was training the students in the academy, Dmo Xian had sneaked into her room several times to help her wash her clothes and had seen her improved sanitary pads. Hence, earlier when Dmo Xian touched it, he knew what it was. Dmo Xian's heart almost collapsed. Now he really wanted to rush out and raze the West Lawn public square to the ground. Calling for a stop at the last minute was fine. Lil Luo, this little vixen, knew that he couldn't bear to do her at this moment. Chapter 1239. If it was during normal times, Dmo Xian would absolutely be excited and enjoy Lil Luo's initiative. But, now, it was pain and happiness. The famished him had long thought of pouncing on Yiqing Luo from all angles without any blind spots. A call to stop midway, and he was still working on it. The little demoness was still stirring up the fire without any restraint. Provoke him. Provoking him. Yiqing Luo's long eyelashes fluttered as she blinked her charming eyes. After she crawled up from the bed, she was like a little kitten as she snuggled into Dmo Xian's embrace. Her small hand circled around his waist again. The soft chow's body was pressed tightly against Dmo Xian's taut body. Yes. She was provoking Dmo Xian. Just by relying on Dmo Xian's unwillingness to part with her, Xiuhua in every possible way. She smiled seductively and leaned in his arms, looking up at the man's gloomy face. Don't pull a long face. Saying that, he stretched out his hand to touch Dmo Xian's face. Before it could even touch him, it was caught by Dmo Xian's huge palm. He lowered his eyes and with a burning gaze, he stuck it onto Yiqing Luo's body as his gaze burned. Lil Luo, don't be complacent. In a few days' time, I will make you cry and beg for mercy. Dmo Xian's long arm wrapped tightly around her slender waist. With a sudden burst of strength, he ruthlessly pressed her down onto his scorching lower abdomen. Yiqing Luo's originally flirtatious eyes, intentionally provoking Dmo Xian's little face, instantly turned red as she cried out in shock from Dmo Xian's actions. Hearing Yiqing Luo's panicked screams, Dmo Xian raised his eyebrows in satisfaction as he glanced sideways at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's face and ears were flush red as she laid in his arms. Her mouth couldn't stop muttering that Dmo Xian was a beast, a huge beast who had lost his mind. The little woman finally calmed down. Dmo Xian heaved a sigh of relief. His self-control, after meeting Yiqing Luo, was totally out of control. If Lil Luo continued to make a fuss, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't go berserk. And directly to Yiqing Luo. Wrapping his arms tightly around Yiqing Luo's slender waist, Dmo Xian diverted the topic. Are you planning to go up alone for the challenge tomorrow? Yiqing Luo buried herself in his chest and responded in a low voice, According to the rules of challenging the overseer, this was the case. In the first 3 rounds of the competition, the students of the class that won the championship could directly gang up on the leader of the class and beat him up. All he had to do was eliminate the overseer. The final winner of this competition would be the class that won first place. The last batch of students from the devil class were the entire class, all of them remaining till the last round. Hence, in tomorrow's challenge, according to the rules, all 62 students of devil class would challenge Zi Qianqian alone at the same time. This was the rule set from the very beginning. It wasn't that Yiqing Luo was afraid of others gossiping, but she wanted to challenge Zi Qianqian alone. On the contrary, she wanted to gang up on Zi Qianqian and end this competition as quickly as possible. But tomorrow, she could only challenge it alone. Before the competition, the students of Devil class were attacked by the dark forces, causing them to suffer heavy losses. It was the medicinal pills which Dmo Xian had sent over from the Imperial Palace which allowed the students of Devil class to hang on till now. If they continued to forcefully hang on, the students' bodies would not be able to take it. That medicinal pill was able to speedily heal the injuries on the body. But the side effects of the medicinal pill. It was too painful. Tomorrow was the final duration of the medicinal effect. Chapter 1240. Yi Qing Luo had already discussed with old man Gue Yu, Yi Feng Yu and Peach. Tonight they would evacuate all the Devil class students from the academy and return to the World Mercenary Group's old mansion to recuperate. Old man Gue Yu and the rest would be in charge of guarding and taking care of them. After Dmo Xian heard Yi Qing Luo's plan, his large palm caressed her hair as he spoke in a warm voice. You don't have to worry about the dark forces. They are currently in a terrible mess because of the Imperial Palace. Furthermore, the plan to stop you from getting first place has already failed. I'm afraid they can't even protect themselves, so they don't have the time or mood to find trouble with you. Yi Qing Luo shrunk into his arms as she responded with a soft But just in case, I'll send some Imperial Palace's disciples to stand guard outside the old mansion. You just have to concentrate on the competition. Dmo Xian's slender fingers had already followed her fine black hair, brushing past her pink lips. Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth and bit his fingers as she gave a vague smile, with Xian around. I'm very assured. Dmo Xian's eyes turned gloomy. The moist and soft touch, because of their conversation, the soft feeling of her lips brushing past his fingers, made the feelings which he had suppressed with great difficulty to swell up. He squinted his long peach blossom eyes as his fingers fiercely rubbed her lips. His tone was evil. In a few days, I'll see how you cry and beg me for mercy. That ferocious look made Yi Qing Luo laugh happily. She laughed so hard in Dmo Xian's arms that her body kept shaking as she stretched out her hand and pinched his waist fiercely. I'll be waiting. As the two of them were laughing and fooling around, they didn't notice anything. A jade-green figure stood in the dark corner of the room. A ray of white light which was visible to the naked eye enveloped that figure. This person was Feng Ling. She stood in the dark corner as her eyes stared venomously at that tightly shut door. Her ears kept ringing with those blushing voices which she had heard earlier. She could even imagine in her mind those shameful things which they were doing in the room. The more she thought, the more painful her heart became. Her fingers trembled as they tightened one by one, curling up one by one. The next day, the curtains of the last round of competition began. After a few days of competition, the excitement of the representatives of the various forces had long since dissipated. In particular, when the final results of the class that won the championship yesterday came out, more than 2,000 people lost a lot of gold. Today, the entire square seemed to be extremely depressed, and there wasn't the slightest bit of excitement from a few days ago. Although Zi Qianqian from the class of gods was competing with the 62 students from the class of devils. Adding on Yi Qing Luo, who could even completely oppress an earth-profound 9th-grade cultivator. This match was definitely going to be exciting. But, the onlookers were still uninterested. No matter how big the world was, it was not as big as the money they had lost. Who would have thought that the devil class that was known as the trash class, the class that gathered a bunch of weak and useless trash, would become a black horse that successfully broke through the encirclement. In this strange atmosphere, the atmosphere was very strange. The representatives of the Heavenly Academy stepped into the venue. However, the principal was nowhere to be seen. Yunduan walked at the front with a few elders following behind him. The 4 elders of the headquarters also entered from the other side. Only then did the atmosphere become more lively. After the opening speech, Yunduan succinctly explained the rules for today and immediately let Zi Qianqian and the devil class go on stage. Zi Qianqian was still dressed in an elegant white long dress today, her face like a green lotus, pure and moving. Her red lips curled up slightly, dazzling the eyes. Chapter 1241. Where are the devil classes students? It seems like I haven't seen any devil class students today. It's already time for the competition, why haven't I seen a single person? The students from the other classes all looked towards the devil classes waiting area. These few days, the devil class students would rush to the waiting area an hour before the competition. The competition had already begun, but not a single person could be seen. Speaking of which, in the dormitory, they didn't see any devil class students today. Could it be that the devil class students have all run away? A student hesitantly raised his own guess. Immediately, another student hammered his head. The challenge competition is for the devil class's 62 students to challenge student Zi Qianqian alone, and there's still Yiqing Luo. How could they have run away? Other than running away, I really can't think of any other reason that would cause all the devil class students to not come to the scene. With that said, everyone went silent. The crowd also focused their attention on the arena from the pain of losing a large amount of money. Are the devil class students here? Yun Duan saw the surrounding discussion getting louder and louder. He frowned and raised his voice to ask. His gaze sharply swept across the surroundings. The crowd looked left and right but didn't see any devil class students. Yun Duan's brows knitted even tighter. The champion class's challenge to the overseer is about to begin. If the devil class students are not here, it will be considered as the devil class has forfeited. The overseer Zi Qianqian's class will become the champion class of this year's interclass competition. The entire square fell into silence. Yun Duan continued, according to the interclass competition rules, if the devil class students have not come up to the stage to accept the challenge, it will be considered as the devil class has forfeited. 3. When the countdown began, the crowd started to whisper to each other. Don't tell me the devil class really ran away. That's very possible. The devil class students are a bunch of trash. Only Yiqing Luo can do it. This time the challenge competition is against the students from the class of gods. I guess Yiqing Luo doesn't have that confidence, so she brought her classmates and ran away. I was wondering why they agreed so readily yesterday, and there wasn't a single bit of surprise or fear. It seems like they had already thought of an escape route. 2. Cloud raised his voice and shouted out the second number. Only then did the surrounding people quiet down a little. Cloud narrowed his eyes and looked around, but he couldn't find anyone familiar. He hesitated for a moment, but under Yun Xiang's urgent gaze, he slowly opened his mouth. At that moment, a red figure suddenly descended from the sky. Cloud only felt a gust of wind blowing his white hair into a mess. He saw Yiqing Luo standing steadily in front of Zi Qianqian. Her red dress fluttered in the wind like a blooming rose, absolutely stunning. Her black hair was not tied up and scattered over her shoulders. Since he had rushed over, his hair was messy, but it was not impolite. The Yiqing Luo with her hair scattered over her shoulders had a charm that was different from the past. Amidst the charm, there was a trace of pure and holy aura. In an instant, the crowd's gaze shifted from Zi Qianqian to Yiqing Luo. Chapter 1242. This was the voice of countless people. Two completely different types of beauties. They were two beauties with completely different temperaments and clothes. At this moment, Yiqing Luo had completely outshone Zi Qianqian. The crowd all felt that Yiqing Luo was using some underhanded tricks. She couldn't win Zi Qianqian in terms of ability. At least in terms of looks, she had to win Zi Qianqian. If Yiqing Luo knew what everyone was thinking, she would definitely spit out blood. She would appear in such a way and even rush to the stage at this time. It was completely, because of that shameless beast. Yiqing Luo stared fiercely at the direction of the elder. Dmo Xian wore Senior Mo's face as he chatted with the elder beside him as he sat down. As though he sensed Yiqing Luo's gaze, he raised his head and met her eyes. Immediately, her shimmering peach blossom eyes curved into a demonic arc. His obsidian-like eyes shone brightly. His slender fingers gently caressed his rosy lips, smiling as though he hadn't had enough. Yiqing Luo's face turned red in an instant. Now, she completely understood that this shameless beast was absolutely not someone she could provoke. She wanted to take advantage of her inconvenience to challenge Dmo Xian's authority. The final result was, last night, she herself was provoked by Dmo Xian to the point that she didn't want to. In the end, Dmo Xian acted as though nothing had happened as he turned over to sleep. Damn it. This was clearly a deliberate act of revenge, right? She couldn't fall asleep because of the torment last night. With great difficulty, he finally managed to fall asleep. This time, he almost missed today's match. Taking a deep breath, Yiqing Luo expressed that she must maintain her composure in such a serious challenge. Student Yiqing Luo, where are the other students in Devil class? Yun Duan looked around and didn't see any other students. Yiqing Luo casually combed her hair into a ponytail as she replied, for today's competition, I'll be fine alone. One person. Has Yiqing Luo gone mad? I think she's too arrogant and conceited. You think that you can defeat Lu Shuiyu, who is at the 9th grade of the Earth Profound Realm, and you also think that you can easily defeat Zi Qianqian, who is in the class of gods. The class of gods is called the class of gods because the class of gods is a place for godlike people. No matter how powerful Yiqing Luo is, she's just a mortal. The onlookers and the spectating class were in an uproar. Those who were originally looking at Yiqing Luo with astonished gazes had all changed. Replacing it was disdain towards Yiqing Luo's conceit. Even Zi Qianqian, who was standing opposite Yiqing Luo, also revealed some ridicule because of her words. Her pair of beautiful eyes meaningfully swept past Yiqing Luo and fell onto the direction of the main courtyard seating. It seemed like she hadn't misjudged him yesterday. Between Yiqing Luo and Supreme Mo of the main courtyard, there must be some ambiguous relationship. Yesterday Supreme Mo carried Yiqing Luo intimately as he left. Today, the two of them rushed to the West Billow Square at the same time. Only a ghost would believe that there was nothing between them. Under Zi Qianqian's probing gaze, Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. Somehow, she felt that something was being spied on by Zi Qianqian. Just as she was about to ponder deeply, Yun Duan's voice rang beside her ear. You want to challenge student Zi Qianqian alone? Student Yiqing Luo, are you sure? Yiqing Luo regained her senses, her eyes filled with smiles as she nodded towards Yun Duan. Yes, I'm sure. Seeing Yiqing Luo's determined gaze, Yun Duan didn't ask any further. After reporting his arrival, he took his leave. Chapter 1243. Student Yiqing Luo, I really don't know if I should say that you are too confident, or should I say that you are smart. Zi Qianqian's brows revealed a trace of ridicule. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. What do you think? Being able to defeat Lu Shuiyu doesn't mean that your strength has already surpassed the 9th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. In the end, Zi Qianqian suddenly lowered her voice and revealed a meaningful smile on her delicate face. You know very well how you beat Lu Shuiyu. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes, tilted her head and smiled sweetly. So? You. The smile on Zi Qianqian's face froze, and a word escaped from between his teeth. She originally thought that after hearing what she said, Yiqing Luo would definitely be flustered. In fact, he would even beg her not to tell the truth about the matter. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo was actually so calm. And he didn't take it seriously. Did she really think that I wouldn't dare to expose her relationship with Supreme Mo? Zi Qianqian clenched his fists tightly. He had once been suppressed by Yi Qing Luo in King Ling's tomb, and now in the arena competition, because of his looks, he was suppressed by Yi Qing Luo once again. This time, she definitely had to get back at him and prove herself. She was absolutely stronger than Yi Qing Luo. Zi Qianqian's expression became extremely serious. A dazzling and resplendent profound light broke out from his body. Boundless energy instantly enveloped the entire arena. Because of Yi Qing Luo and Lu Shuaiyu's match yesterday, the arena stage was severely damaged, and because of the strong profound energy, it almost hurt the spectator seats. Today's barrier was formed by 2 more student elders. The entire arena was a completely different space from the outside world. Thus, the profound energy Zi Qianqian released became extremely strong in this arena. The entire arena shook because of this surge of profound energy. This power, Yi Qing Luo was slightly astonished. To be honest, she really did not take Zi Qianqian seriously. Even though they were students of the class of gods, they were still students. Although Zi Qianqian was also the vice captain of the 3rd mercenary group, the Azura group, he was not a match for Zi Qianqian. But to be able to reach the position of vice leader, especially in the rankings, it was a well-known mercenary group. No matter what he did, there would always be someone to do it for him. Even if Zi Qianqian was extremely talented, her actual combat experience was definitely not comparable to hers. In any case, he was someone who had lived 2 lives. However, she really didn't expect, Zi Qianqian's profound rank had actually reached the 7th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. Zi Qianqian was extremely talented, but she was only 17 this year. At such a young age, he had already reached the 7th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. As expected of a student from the class of gods. Rumor has it that it seems to be a green rank profound heart jade. In the entire Nirvana realm, one might not be able to find more than 10 people with a 4th grade profound heart jade. Yi Qing Luo wielded the glower flame fan and released a whirlwind, forming a protective film that blocked off the profound qi. She narrowed her eyes and thought carefully about how to deal with Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian was at the 7th grade of the Earth Profound Realm while she was at the 4th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. It was 3 grades higher, but the difference was like the distance between heaven and earth. It was equivalent to, she had hit Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian would at most be injured. However, if Zi Qianqian's attack landed on her body, even if he didn't die, he would lose half his life. Fighting Zi Qianqian was different from fighting the mysterious person who impersonated Lu Shuaiyu. After all, the mysterious man had a guilty conscience and did not dare to reveal his identity. Yi Qing Luo grasped that mentality and secretly poisoned him to settle that mysterious man. But, Zi Qianqian was different. Chapter 1244. Earth Profound 7th Grade. No wonder she's a student from the class of gods. Earth Profound Realm cultivators are a dime a dozen right now. I heard that the number 1 beauty's profound jade heart is a green grade. Yi Qing Luo is also Earth Profound 4th grade, right? With a difference of 3 grades, Yi Qing Luo is bound to lose. I remember the headmaster said that the number 1 beauty in the class of gods can only be considered as below average. Oh my god. The middle and lower levels are all Earth Profound 7th grade high-level profound practitioners. Don't tell me, those middle and upper level students have all become Sky Profound Supremes. The crowd was stunned by Zi Qianqian's profound grade. A 17-year-old Earth Profound 7th grade cultivator, this could be said to be a genius among geniuses. Immediately, the low profound class 2 students were unconvinced. What's 3 grades? Yesterday's high profound class 2 class monitor Lu Shuaiyu was an Earth Profound 9th grade cultivator, but she still lost. Madame Qing Luo will definitely win. She can even defeat an earth-profound 9th grade cultivator. Madame Qing Luo will definitely beat the students from the class of gods until they are begging for mercy. The low-profound class 2 students have been training with Yi Fengyu recently, which was why they were able to make such rapid progress. And Yi Fengyu said that these training methods were learned from Yi Qing Luo. Moreover, Peach was considered as someone who had a say in the low-profound class 2. After all, the 3000 Peach Blossom was a very famous name in the pugilistic world. Peach was also constantly brainwashing the students from the low-profound class 2. Therefore, the students from the low-profound class 2 had long become the devil's class. Or more accurately, Yi Qing Luo's number 1 escort team. Listening to the quarrel below the stage, Zi Qianqian sneered, "That kind of trash, even if they are earth-profound 9th grade cultivators, they are only equivalent to our earth-profound cultivators in the class of gods. Don't naively think that you can use the same method to deal with Lu Shuiyu against me." Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows disapprovingly. "Then why not? Give it a try." Zi Qianqian pursed her red lips, knowing that there was no way to humiliate Yi Qing Luo with words. On the contrary, she would be angered by Yi Qing Luo. She snorted coldly and didn't say any more nonsense. Her white lotus-like dress fluttered, and a long sword appeared in her hand. The white long sword was dazzling, like a graceful swan. It directly attacked towards Yi Qing Luo's face. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly, without any intention of evading. In the blink of an eye, the long sword had already closed in. The sword brought with it a terrifying aura, as if it could engulf her in an instant. "Qing, Madame Qing Luo. What is Yi Qing Luo doing?" The low-profound class 2 students and the other onlookers suddenly stood up. He couldn't understand why Yi Qing Luo didn't dodge Zi Qianqian's attack. Could it be that he knew he was going to lose, so he was too lazy to resist? Just as everyone was in shock, that sword gleam which was nearing Yi Qing Luo suddenly turned into a sword move. In a split second, the long sword split into dozens of swords. Following Zi Qianqian's command, those 10 overswords enlarged in front of Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Phantom sword formation. Someone in the crowd shouted out the name of this sword move. Many swordsmen immediately became excited. Phantom sword formation, among the swordsmen, wasn't considered as a particularly rare sword move. But most swordsmen could only transform their swords into 10 at most. But Zi Qianqian's sword formation had at least 30 swords. The onlookers couldn't help but sigh. She was indeed a student from the class of gods. Even an ordinary sword move could create such a powerful sword formation. Chapter 1245. Boom boom boom, the raging profound light shattered the arena into pieces. The majestic profound energy surged like a tide. The whole ring was swept by a hurricane in an instant, and the horrible atmosphere pervaded the surroundings. "Sister." Yi Fengyu suddenly stood up, which affected the wound on his body. He frowned in pain and took a deep breath, but still stubbornly wanted to rush to the ring. "Yi Fengyu, calm down." Dong Huanglang came to the waiting area of the low profound class 2 and stopped Yi Fengyu. "My sister is on the ring, how can I calm down?" Yi Fengyu's pale face was enduring the severe pain. He struggled to open Dong Huanglang's hand, and his eyes were scarlet. He saw with his own eyes that his sister was covered by that sword array. If those dozens of long swords hit his sister's body, Yi Fengyu did not dare to think about it, and his eyes were red as he struggled to break free from Dong Huanglang's hand. Dong Huanglang held him tightly, and seeing that he was still not obedient, he simply circled him in his arms. Before he could hold him tightly, Dong Huanglang's collar was suddenly pulled, and he was forced to let go of Yi Fengyu. Following the pull, he stepped back a few steps and fell into a hard embrace. A hand tightly clasped Dong Huanglang's waist. A cold voice sounded in his ear, if he wants to go, let him go. Jing. Dong Huang turned his head to look at the indifferent man behind him, and frowned. He is injured like this. If he forcibly rushes to the ring, he will die. That has nothing to do with you. Qi Jing narrowed his eyes and looked at the boy who was running to the ring. If he wants his sister to lose this match, and finally get her profound heart jade dug out by Shangwan Liuli, and break her meridians, then let him go. Yi Fengyu's footsteps stopped. His body, which could not even stand steadily, swayed slightly. He mustered all his strength to turn around and look at Qi Jing. The boy's pale face was without any blood. He panted heavily and stared at Qi Jing for a long time. What do you mean by that? Don't you know Yi Qing Luo's strength and character as her brother? Do you think she would do something she's not sure of? Qi Jing answered Yi Fengyu's question with rare patience. Yi Fengyu was stunned. It seemed like, no. Yi Qing Luo would not do anything that she was not sure of. As for what she wanted to do, she would always set up countless plans. For example, a plan to do it. If the plan failed, what was the way out, and so on. She always had a well-organized plan. Since you trust her, just sit here quietly and wait for her. Seeing that Yi Fengyu had calmed down, Qi Jing grabbed Dong Huang's wrist and walked towards the waiting area of low profound class 2. Vaguely, he could still hear Qi Jing's low voice drifting into his ears with the wind. He said, "Wait for her to return in triumph." On the arena, the terrifying profound qi continued to expand and spread. The smile at the corner of Zi Qianqian's mouth became even wider, and the murderous aura that shot out from the depths of his eyes was obscured by the profound light. What super genius! What contract divine artifacts, divine dragons, and a super genius who formed a blood pact with a sacred beast. In the hands of Zi Qianqian, Yi Qing Luo was nothing. Thinking of the Ling King's tomb, how Yi Qing Luo arrogantly taught the god-slaying group a lesson, how she suppressed her prestige, how the god-slaying group became a joke. Chapter 1246. She was just a bitch who could be loved by thousands of people. What right did she have to receive so much praise and attention? Yi Qing Luo actually treated her as a clown. Teasing her. Zi Qianqian sneered as she injected her profound energy into the long sword once again. An increasingly dazzling sword ray was released. The remaining 10 overlong swords followed her control and formed a circle in midair. Swoosh! A piercing sound was heard as those long swords dashed towards the place where the explosion happened earlier. It was obvious that they wanted to put Yi Qing Luo to death. The crowd's exclamations stopped. The surrounding students also held their breaths. As for the surrounding elders and masters who were in charge of safety, their expressions had a huge change. If there were any students who lost their lives in the competition, it would have a huge impact on the academy's reputation. Those elders and masters who were in charge of safety immediately rushed into the array barrier in an attempt to stop that sword ray. You overestimate yourself. Her sweet voice was tinged with coldness. In that hurricane, it was clearly transmitted into everyone's ears. Those elders and masters who rushed into the array barrier immediately stopped in their tracks. That voice. It was Yi Qing Luo's voice. She wasn't dead. Everyone's vision was concentrated on the arena, searching for Yi Qing Luo's traces. The entire West Lawn public square was as though it had been rehearsed in advance, not a sound could be heard. Just as everyone's hearts were clenched tightly, feeling extremely anxious. They saw the place where the illusory sword array exploded earlier. As the dust dispersed, a slender figure gradually appeared. The red dress in the hurricane was like a blossoming beautiful poppy. She was like a proud and aloof poppy flower, standing there elegantly. Her expression was calm and indifferent, like the wind and clouds. It was as if everything around him didn't matter at all. No. It couldn't be said to be of no importance. To put it more accurately, it was a kind of self-confidence which was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. At this moment, everyone could see with their own eyes. Those 10 over illusory swords struck towards Yi-Ching Luo's face with irresistible force. Those 10 over illusory swords were aimed at all her vital points. Yi-Ching Luo slowly narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into a smirk, revealing a trace of disdain and ridicule. She raised her right hand, and a devouring flame fan that flickered with an enchanting red light suddenly unfurled. A half-arc of red light flashed past. It was just a gentle block. Dozens of illusionary longswords directly blocked the front of the glowing flame fan. The dazzling sword aura clashed with the devouring flame fan. The deathly silence in the square suddenly exploded into an uproar. What's going on? I'm not seeing things, am I? He managed to block the advanced phantom sword formation that can create more than 30 illusionary swords with just his weapon? The phantom sword array has no way to get close to Yi-Ching Luo. My God, he's too strong. She's after all an earth profound 7th grade cultivator and she was easily blocked. Yi-Ching Luo is indeed Yi-Ching Luo. The gasps of admiration from the surrounding crowd caused Zi Qianqian's expression to turn extremely ugly. Her beautiful eyes were suffused with a cold glint as she stared fiercely at Yi-Ching Luo, unable to believe that the mirage sword array which she was so proud of was actually blocked by Yi-Ching Luo. Moreover, he blocked it so easily. He didn't look like he was struggling at all. What Yi-Ching Luo said earlier, was she ridiculing her? Ridiculing her for overestimating herself? No. She absolutely could not lose to Yi-Ching Luo. This was her only chance. To prove to Nangong Firen that she was stronger than Yi-Ching Luo. She absolutely could not lose. Zi Qianqian's eyes were piercingly cold, as though it could condense into ice. Chapter 1247. Tisk, Zi Qianqian, are you a swordsman? Aren't you tired of using the same moves? Or do you have no other ultimate moves? Yi-Ching Luo snorted in disdain as her lips curled. Other than transforming a bunch of broken swords, what else can you do? A swordsman is a swordsman. Ha! The crowd was stunned. What was Yi-Ching Luo saying? She actually insulted Zi Qianqian. No, that wasn't right. This wasn't considered as an insult. Zi Qianqian had indeed been displaying the phantom sword array from the start to the end. Moreover, those who used long swords were indeed called swordsmen, but wasn't Yi-Ching Luo a little too arrogant? The phantom sword array could transform into 30 over long swords. Even if she could block the first wave, it didn't mean that she could block the second wave. Very quickly, Yi-Ching Luo used her actions to express the disdain in her words. Zi Qianqian condensed and injected an even more powerful profound energy, once again transforming into 10 over long swords. Yi-Ching Luo was blocking the first wave of the phantom sword array, so there was no way she could block the second wave in time. But Yi-Ching Luo only twitched her lips in disdain as her 5 fingers suddenly tightened the glower flame fan. A powerful profound energy broke through the sky. Immediately, it exploded with a loud bang. The force was majestic and ferocious. All of a sudden, the 30-odd illusory longswords in front of him shattered into pieces. Gradually, they formed into a long sword. With a clang, it fell onto the ground. The moment the long sword left her hand, Zi Qianqian's expression was already filled with shock. She held onto her numb wrist as she quickly retreated a few steps, dispelling the thought of picking up the long sword. Zi Qianqian had been regarded as a genius since young. Her innate talent, her beauty, were her greatest wealth. Numerous people bowed to her. Numerous people racked their brains just to make her smile. But today, standing on this stage, in front of thousands of people, all her pride had been destroyed. The sword move which she was so proud of was easily blocked by Yiqing Luo. And, the long sword in her hand was shaken off. To a swordsman who used a long sword, this was a great humiliation. She couldn't believe it, and didn't dare to believe it. Yiqing Luo's ability had actually reached such a stage. He's obviously only a 4th grade Earth Profound Xian practitioner. How could it possibly withstand her attack, which was a 7th grade Earth Profound realm? The rage in Zi Qianqian's chest had already been ignited. She clenched her fists and bit her lower lip. Looking at the sneering Yiqing Luo, Zi Qianqian didn't hesitate any longer and took out a magic staff from his space pocket. That magic staff was pitch black in color. The surface was outlined with a complex ancient totem, but it was impossible to tell what exactly the totem above it was. The most horrifying thing was that the tip of the staff was a black sphere. It wasn't inlaid with gold or silver, but rather, an open eye. It looked like a human eye, floating at the top of the staff. When Zi Qianqian saw that pair of eyes, there was a clear fear in them. But she forcibly suppressed the fear in her heart as she gripped her staff tightly and raised her eyes to look at Yiqing Luo with a sneer. Because you're a student of the devil class, as a member of the class of gods, I'll let you have a few moves. I'm not good at swordsmanship. Zi Qianqian waved the staff in her hand, seeing that student Yiqing Luo is treating this competition extremely seriously. I'll also compete with you seriously. Not good at. You're not good at it, but you can actually display the Mirage Sword Formation's high-level ultimate move, creating over 30 long swords. Chapter 1248. Not serious. Earlier wave after wave of sword array was obviously to put Yiqing Luo to death. You call this not being serious? The onlookers were surprised and suspicious. All of them stared at the staff in Zi Qianqian's hand. The students from the class of gods rarely fought. As the vice-captain of the Death God mercenary group, Zi Qianqian rarely participated in missions. Naturally, no one could be certain what weapon Zi Qianqian was proficient in. This was the first time many of them had seen this staff. Isn't that the Tianling staff? Suddenly, the elder who was sitting beside Dmo Xian stood up and stared at the staff in Zi Qianqian's hands. I'd never thought that the Skymish staff is actually in your hands. Tianling staff. The onlookers were not unfamiliar with this name. This heavenly silk staff was a legendary weapon. Although it was not included in the scope of a divine weapon, the power of the Tianling staff had already far surpassed the power of a legendary grade. That magic staff was rumored to be made from a magical beast's magic crystal. A mana gem was only the size of a finger. Forging a staff would require at least 1,000 mana gems. There was only one magic crystal per magical beast. This was a magic staff that had to be made from over 1,000 magical beasts. Needless to say, one could tell how powerful it was. It's actually the Tianling staff. Yiqing Luo is going to lose for sure. Even if it's the devouring flame fan, I'm afraid it wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from the Tianling staff. The onlookers were amazed. Yiqing Luo also frowned. Tianling staff, there was no introduction to this staff in his memories. However, from the discussions of the surrounding people, it was very clear that this Tianling staff was not an ordinary item. This was the first time Yiqing Luo saw a cultivator using a staff as a weapon. His heart sank as he frowned. He became even more serious about the upcoming battle. Zi Qianqian's expression softened when he heard the exclamations of the people around him. She arrogantly raised her chin towards Yiqing Luo's direction and gave a cold harumph. Student Yiqing Luo, I'll let you experience the power of the sky silk staff. He raised the staff in his hand. The huge eye at the top began to blink like a human. Immediately after, a thunderous boom resounded. A bolt of lightning flashed across those blinking eyes. Zi Qianqian sneered and waved his staff towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. The electric current made a sizzling sound in the air. If this electric current fell on Yi Qing Luo, she would probably be electrocuted into a dried corpse on the spot. Yi Qing Luo realized this point. Her expression froze and her pink lips curled into a cold smile. He moved his feet and bent his body. That electric current brushed past Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. Yi Qing Luo flipped over, and just as she steadied her footing, the second electric current struck again. Yi Qing Luo was unhurried as she displayed her footwork and ran back and forth on the stage. The electric current chased after her footsteps. But every single time, it was narrowly avoided by Yi Qing Luo. The entire arena was blasted apart by the electric current. The ground was filled with flying stones and dust. But it didn't hurt Yi Qing Luo at all. It was so fast that it was like a whirlwind. After attacking for more than 10 times, Zi Qianqian felt that he was like a little puppy being walked by Yi Qing Luo. The Tianling staff was indeed very powerful. But using the Tianling staff, her own strength was still a bit too much. Every time she used the power of the Tianling staff, she had to expend a huge amount of profound energy. If this went on for a long time, her profound jade heart would dry up. Zi Qianqian frowned tightly as she stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo's direction. Absolutely could not let her evade again. She gripped the staff tightly and was about to release a stronger electric current. Suddenly, Zi Qianqian felt a murderous intent coming from behind. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.